to bond with you anyway, just let me bond with you. I know a guy, Friar Lawrence, with a magical potion full of energy to get you into my atomic level. I alone cannot be fulfilled by you. I must have another. If that's what it takes to be with you, I'll bond with you guys. You're probably wondering what on earth that was. That was the story of how molecules hybridize, as told by Romeo and Juliet. Hybridization is just a big fancy word for how molecules bond together. And the way that molecules bond together is a lot more complicated than you may have learned in your middle school science class. Instead of those rings you always see on atoms, electrons are really housed in these things called orbitals. These are probability wave functions, which means an electron could be anywhere in a given space. So basically, electron could be here, or here, or here, or anywhere. Now these probability wave functions can take many different shapes and forms. Let's start with the easiest example, the s orbital. Now this orbital is just basically a giant sphere that can hold 2 electrons. Now on to more complicated molecules, you then have what are called p orbitals that can hold up to 6 electrons, which is where you get the octet 8-valence electron rule. They can look like this, this, or this. But really, they're all 3 of these things existing at the exact same time, just together. Now oxygen with its 6-valence electrons, they're floating through all 3 of these p orbitals at the exact same time. I said that hydrogen only has the s orbital, while oxygen has an s orbital and p orbitals. It might seem crazy that these can bond because they don't have the same number of orbitals and their electrons are not in the same places. And that's where hybridization comes in. We can take hydrogen's s orbitals and oxygen's p orbitals and hybridize them together to make something called an sp3 orbital. Because you take the s orbital from hydrogen and the 3 p's from oxygen and you put them together. If you look at a periodic table, hydrogen is in the first row, while oxygen is in the second row. Hydrogen needs to get itself up to the n=2 atomic level. How can it do that? By adding lots and lots of energy. Just like my cat Bandit so perfectly demonstrates. He starts off at the n=1 level, charged up to energy, until he can finally jump up to the n=2 level, leaving his 1s shell empty. It's going to want to bond to anything as soon as it can to fill that empty shell because it's really unstable. And that's where the oxygen atom is floating there, and they're going to hybridize real quick so that hydrogen can make itself more stable. And to go back to my original analogy, hydrogen, oxygen, doomed lovers because they're on different atomic levels and in different orbitals. That is until Friar Lawrence comes along with this amazing potion full of lots of energy so that hydrogen and oxygen can hybridize and be able to form a bond forever. We hope.